For too long we have held preconceived notions of the market and the state that were seemingly independent of local societies and cultures. Underscore the debate about civil society ultimately is about how culture, market and state relate to each other. Concern about civil society, however, is not only relevant to Central and Eastern Europe and the developing world. It is very much of interest to the European Union as well. The civil dialogue initiated by the Commission in the 1990s was a first attempt by the EU to give the institutions of society, and not only governments and businesses, a voice at the policy-making tables in Brussels. The EU, like other international institutions, has a long way to go in trying to accommodate the frequently divergent interests of non-governmental organizations and citizen groups. There is increasing recognition that international and national governments have to open up to civil society institutions. Coffee is enjoyed by millions of people every day, and the coffee experience has become a staple of our modern life and culture. While the current body of research related to the effects of coffee consumption on human health has been contradictory, a study in the June issue of Comprehensive Reviews in Food Science and Food Safety, which is published by the Institute of Food Technologists, IFT, found that the potential benefits of moderate coffee drinking outweigh the risks in adult consumers for the majority of major health outcomes considered. Progressive enhancement is a design practice based on the idea that instead of designing for the least capable browser or mangling our code to make a site look the same in every browser, we should provide a core set of functionality and information to all users and then progressively enhance the appearance and behavior of the site for users of more capable browsers. It's very productive development practice. Instead of spending hours working out how to add drop shadows to the borders of an element in every browser, we simply use the standards-based approach for browsers that support it and don't even attempt to implement it in browsers that don't. After all, the users of older and less capable browsers won't know what they are missing. The biggest challenge to progressive enhancement is the belief among developers and clients that websites should look the same in every browser. As a developer, you can simplify your life and dedicate your time to more interesting challenges if you let go of this outdated notion and embrace progressive enhancement. To overcome these bad habits, some reading clinics use a device called an accelerator, which moves a bar or curtain down the page at a predetermined speed. The bar is set at a slightly faster rate than the reader finds comfortable in order to stretch him. The accelerator forces the reader to read fast, making word-by-word reading, regression and subvocalization practically impossible. At first, comprehension is sacrificed for speed. But when you learn to read ideas and concepts, you will not only read faster, but your comprehension will improve. Many people have found their reading skill drastically improved after some training. Take Charles O., a business manager, for instance. His reading rate was a reasonably good 172 words a minute before the training. Now it is an excellent 1,378 words a minute. He is delighted that how he can get through a lot more reading material in a short period of time. A mini helicopter modeled on flying tree seeds could soon be flying overhead. Evan Ulrich and colleagues at the University of Maryland in College Park turned to the biological world for inspiration to build a scaled-down helicopter that could mimic the properties of full-size aircraft. The complex design of full-size helicopters gets less efficient when shrunk, meaning that standard mini helicopters expend most of their power simply fighting to stay stable in the air. The researchers realized that a simpler aircraft designed to stay stable passively would use much less power and reduce manufacturing costs to boot. It turns out that nature had beaten them to it. The seeds of trees such as the maple have a single blade structure that allows them to fly far away and drift safely to the ground. These seeds, known as samaras, need no engine to spin through the air thanks to a process called autorotation. By analyzing the behavior of the samara with high-speed cameras, Ulrich and his team were able to copy its design. Although not written about extensively, a few individuals have considered the concept and act of cheating in history, as well as contemporary culture. J. Barton Bauer writes that cheating is the advantageous distortion of perceived reality. The advantage falls to the cheater because the cheated person misperceives what is assumed to be the real world. The cheater is taking advantage of a person, a situation, or both. Cheating also involves the distortion of perceived reality, or what others call deception. Deception can involve hiding the true reality or showing reality in a way intended to deceive others. One of the characteristics of good information identified earlier was that it should be balanced. In an ideal world, objective or balanced information would present all the evidence for and against, and leave you to weigh this up and draw conclusions. In the real world, however, we recognize that all information presents a position of interest, although this may not necessarily be intentional. Objectivity may therefore be an unachievable ideal. This means that the onus is on you as the reader and user of the information to develop a critical awareness of the positions represented in what you read, and to take account of this when you interpret the information. In some cases, authors may explicitly express a particular viewpoint. This is perfectly valid as long as they are open about the perspective they represent. Hidden bias, whether or not it is deliberate, can be misleading. Snails are not traditionally known for quick thinking, but new research shows they can make complex decisions using just 2 brain cells in findings that could help engineers design more efficient robots. Scientists at the University of Sussex attached electrodes to the heads of freshwater snails as they searched for lettuce. They found that just 1 cell was used by the mollusk to tell if it was hungry or not, while another let it know when food was present. Food searching is an example of goal-directed behavior, during which an animal must integrate information about both its external environment and internal state while using as little energy as possible. Lead researcher Professor George Kemmons said, "This will eventually help us design the brains of robots based on the principle of using the fewest possible components necessary to perform complex tasks."